Join us in this episode as we sail to a remote sand island nature reserve. Witness the largest annual offshore race in the world and experience Sweden's fascinating nature, both above and below the water. I'm Jasmine, and these are my parents, Guy and Joe. And this is our home, Free Spirit. Come join us on our adventures. It was the 26th of June and we got ready to depart from the island of Stora in the Swedish Baltic. With the sun shining and the wind in our sails, we headed towards the island of Gotska Sandön, over 50 kilometers away. Often described as the Pearl of the Baltic, the island is very exposed and usually inaccessible to most boats due to the lack of a sheltered harbour, so we only had this brief weather window to explore. After a few hours of sailing, we dropped anchor in a beautiful bay on the western side of the island. Gotska Sandön is the Baltic's most isolated island and is considered one of Sweden's most beautiful treasures. It has been a national park since 1909. True to its name, the island consists mainly of sand and has many beaches, dunes, and ancient pine forests. It was lovely to observe the wildlife, though the ants made it almost impossible to stand still without getting bitten. On the northwest tip of the island, we came across a beautiful little church or chapel. There was also an informative micro-museum that covered the human and natural history of this place, with stories of the many shipwrecks that occurred off the island's treacherous shores. We felt very privileged to have been gifted the opportunity to spend a day soaking up the wonderful atmosphere of this island and its stunning natural beauty. We finished the day with a refreshing dip. The next day, the increasing wind and swell forced us to depart. We set out, heading for the port of Sandham to stock up with supplies. The sail would take us around 10 hours. The weather conditions were very changeable. After a long journey, we dropped anchor just off Sandham. The next day, we kayaked into harbour. The harbour and town was buzzing with people, all of them getting ready for the Gotland Runt, the largest annual offshore sailing race in the world. We had no idea this race was happening, but by a happy coincidence, we had arrived just in time for the beginning of this event. We escaped the crowds for a bit and enjoyed wandering the back streets of this idyllic maritime village. The next day, the race was due to start, and fortunately, we'd anchored in the perfect place to watch this spectacle leisurely from the deck. But just as soon as it had begun, the race was called off and postponed for half a day due to a forecast that predicted a short period of extreme storm force winds. All the boats were called back to the safety of the harbour. It wasn't long before the predicted storm materialised, and strong gusts accompanied by rain and thunder blew over our anchorage. Just as quickly as it had come, the storm dissipated, and our anchorage became calm once more. We got up at 5:30 a.m. the next morning to watch the race begin again. 250 international racing yachts departed in closely staggered starts with strong winds and sunshine. The Gotland Runt is 350 nautical miles. The participants must sail around the island of Gotland and back. It was quite a spectacle to witness. We headed back to Sandham to explore the island once more. It was beautiful wandering along the forest trails. The following morning, before we set off, we witnessed the first 2 racing boats returning and crossing the finish line. We upped anchor and headed on to a new anchorage. We dropped anchor in a protected anchorage off the island of Luren, part of the Stora Bocker nature reserve. This beautiful area was perfect for kayaking. The island itself was great for exploring on foot, with varied habitats. The place was full of nature and wildlife. There is even a sauna, composting toilets, and a water pump where we could fill up our water bottles. In the calm conditions the next day, we geared up and got ready to go snorkelling amongst the reeds. The enclosed waters of the Baltic Sea are brackish, meaning they have a lower salt content than the open ocean. We were surprised to find freshwater fish species here. As we swam into the reeds, keeping as still as possible, we entered their hidden world. I even spotted this pike as it lay in wait, ready to catch unsuspecting fish as they passed. The next day we upped anchor again and set off. We made our way to the port of Hermasa. This place had free berthing with a lovely restaurant nearby and a very unusual atmosphere. We wandered past many derelict ships and boats. One even looked like an oriental palace. It would have once been adorned with massive dragon heads, now left to rust away. There was even a small private submarine wrapped up on the side here. We moved on again. We headed to a small anchorage just off the lovely island and nature reserve of Idur. There were many dead trees here, possibly due to an infestation of bark beetles. But there was still beauty all around. next day, strong winds blew over our anchorage. We spent the day sitting on the boat and watching the young gulls and terns on the tiny island behind us. By evening, all was calm once more. We set off again, heading further north, getting ready to enter the Gulf of Bothnia and eventually make the crossing to Sweden's famed Högerkusten, or High Coast. We anchored in a small bay for the night. Before we headed to Luren to stock up with supplies, ready for the long journey ahead. Please like and subscribe, and if you see the hype button, give it a click. A huge thank you to my amazing patrons for helping to support the production of these videos. If you'd like to help, as well as getting early ad-free videos, then click the link in the description and join my Patreon account. Thanks for watching. Join us next time as we weather a huge lightning storm and explore the wonderful island of Odyssey before making the 160 nautical mile crossing to the Högerkusten.
I'm gonna get my bins out. Ow! Ow! God! Ow! Jeez! Ow! No, I'm off. Sorry.
Did you get it?